there, telling them
Yeah,
like
I don't.
when to not follow. I think is
You
leadership.
got to appreciate the people that do the actual work, the labor part. You got to appreciate them. You can't just pretend like that. It's because of them you got everything that you got that
Yeah, they
in
get
that
taken for
business.
granted, but they
Yeah.
really are the ones that do the work.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff, can I ask you a personal question? Is Topaz giving you more Peter Pan or Robin Hood chic?
I think Peter Pan. Sorry.
I'm getting more like teenage Dennis the Menace
he's
out of them.
he's giving us ambitious do nothing. And where are you? Because it doesn't look like your bedroom. It looks like you're on
Uh,
a boat. Are you
is
on a
my
He's
mic
in an
working,
submarine?
by the
air
way?
conditioning vent.
Huh?
No, I'm at my cabin.
Oh, a
Oh, is that
cabin.
a bunk
Okay.
bed behind you? It looks like you're crawling out of like a
It is
hidden
indeed
bunker.
a bunk bed.
Is that the
Okay.
Swedish cabin?
Yes, this is the Swedish cabin.
Oh.
It has a lot of sleeping space for one person because I get a
That
guest
is
cabin. I have this entire mini cabin for myself.
Wait,
wow,
that's a mini cabin, so that's not even the main cabin.
Yeah, this is a guest cabin for when we have guests.
I would turn
Oh.
that ladder to a slide. That's my interior design suggestion.
How would you get up to the bed if you turned it into a slide?
You
You can
willpower.
climb the slide.
Why are you so fucking oppositional, Dina? Damn.
That's leadership.
Okay,
Right.
Ren, let's hear you.
All right, testing.
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. Yeah, I went to wired headphones, which should have been made things simpler, but it didn't because
You went
that's
to where?
Wired
wired. I
headphones.
had wired headphones, and that should have made
Oh.
things simpler, but it
Yeah, it
didn't.
seems like it did not though.
Yeah. No, I
Well,
need to
welcome.
download my most valuable, like some Russian programmer programmed it app that I used to use at work called Virtual Audio Cable. One of best like $40 you can spend.
Oh. Is that what fixed it?
I need to get a new
That
copy.
was some good leadership. You led your personal technology
It was great followership
problems.
too.
Yeah, that whole job was a good example of how. You were talking about people making people paranoid. I'm like, that job was a good example of how there's enough people who will go nuts and are paranoid anyway. You don't need to create like a whole new set.
Like on a job, they'll bring the pressure themselves.
Yeah, there's people that will just
Yeah, I've seen that too.
that don't work out, right? Like that they are irrational and yeah, they don't need any help. So, but I
And
was going to mention a while
Dobez,
ago,
yeah,
like
our
the
future
test
young leader.
with the people, and they put them all in like a waiting room, and then they put like a couple of seed people, and there would be like a buzzer go off in the waiting room, and the two like in on it people would stand up every time the
Yes,
buzzer went off.
yes, that's what
Yeah.
I was
And
thinking
then
of.
and
And
then here in a
yeah,
minute, most of the rest of the people they would start standing up when the buzzer went off. And then yeah, and they went through like multiple
Like that
generations
herd
of
instinct.
yeah, innocent, of unknowing
Yeah.
people occupying this waiting room. And by the end, and they would all, well, most of them, there would be the occasional outlier, but most of them would stand up when the buzzer went off and they had no idea why.
Did they try it like with the different races and genders to see how, like if the
Uh,
black woman stands up, do as many people stand
Not
or
that I
follow?
know of.
That would be a better way to show bias to me than those stupid tests.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably like a lot of personality things is that you have sort of the general test group that's more alike than disalike. It's like MBTI. It covers most the people that are most alike, and then you have outliers, and so those are two different behavior sets, and people are going to respond differently to people that are more like if most of the people are more alike than if you've got
So it's
oddballs
not really
either way.
race. If somebody that's just different from you that you don't identify with
Right.
stands up,
I
you're
think
less
I think
likely
it's not
demographic things
groupthink.
like race are going to
It's
come into
groupthink.
factor if most of the people are already personality in the same sort of, ballpark, right? if everybody's already personality very similar, then they're going to look for other markers to try to
But it's
differentiate.
not the first layer of.
Right, but if you were to, my guess would be if you put distinct personality outliers, that would be one of the first markers that people would notice in that sort of a behavioral situation.
Well,
I'm
Topaz,
gonna
what if
try to
you
pay
gain
attention
nothing?
now who I instinctively follow when they stand up
What if
and
you
see if
gain
there's a
nothing,
pattern.
Topaz, in either situation?
Well, you do.
Then it,
If
hmm.
you don't follow the flow, there is a minute, very minuscule loss in of group cohesion. So like there will, if you gain nothing from not following the group, even if you don't gain anything real by following it, at least you're not going against the group. Like that could be valuable.
Hmm.
Maybe you're
Do
gonna
you
stay
want
in
to
that
lead the
waiting
group or
room
not?
for 2 hours. Hmm?
Right, but what if the chair is really comfortable?
Good point. Maybe you should sit. Maybe that's more valuable than 0.1 extra group cohesion.
but
Comfy,
on topic,
comfy for
right?
the
Go
occasion.
ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just
No,
saying that that's the gain there. Is you're comfy. Why get up? If there's no understanding and no gain for getting up, I
Right.
say keep on keeping on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's other factors weighing against the like the herd instinct. So
Hmm.
well,
comfort might
back
be
to the
one of those.
topic of
Pleasure and comfort
leadership,
might override.
right? Do you want to be? Are you interested in leading or not? Right.
But
The
that's a
whole well,
movement. Action.
going along with the crowd is seen that immediately as the most obvious benefit. To me, that's an odd way of thinking about it.
But it's leading
Like,
people into not standing up if you remain seated.
well, it's
Right.
just a general sense, though. It's like, would you like to stage a revolt in the waiting room? Whether you would like to or
Yeah.
not, in order to establish the prerequisites for the possibility to exist, that you lead the group of obviously rather compliant people, basically
Compliant.
differentiating yourself from them can be one of the first steps, right?
Look, I want to put
Because
Jeff in
you
that
go, why
equation.
are
There's
we
no way
doing
he's
this? And
getting
then
up.
they all turn to you and they go, I
I would
don't know
sit
why we're
there
doing this.
and watch and
You would
wait to like
judge.
I wouldn't
You would
have to make a
judge.
decision right away. I would see if more people and then I would ask like, "Oh, are we supposed to
Yeah.
stand up
I
or
would
why are you
definitely
like I
ask,
would
like,
get more
why is everybody
information. I would
standing up?
verbally seek
Mhm.
information.
I would probably, if I wanted to make it a social experiment, I would probably just start laughing at everyone when they stood up to see how that.
Oh, I would
Because
definitely
that would
giggle.
be produce a more interesting response from them, right? Because if I tell them why, point out that they're doing something and they don't know why, then I've already put a thought in their heads, which
But
in
they
some
might I
cases
don't
can be
know that they
valuable.
don't know why until I point it
But
out.
if I just laugh at
I'm sure
them,
they know they just stood up.
then I'm disturbing the sort of the calm. I'm pointing at them without putting a specific thought in their head, and then it would be interesting to see what they do from there.
But do you think you would do that if you weren't part of the original seeded folks and you were brought in like 5 rounds later? Do you think your initial reaction would be to just laugh at the people standing up while you're
No, my initial
the
reaction would be to
lone?
sit there and laugh, quietly, and go, "What the heck are these people doing?"
I was gonna say, wouldn't your laughter just be out of discomfort and not
Not
ridicule?
really. No, it would be
Hmm.
ridicule.
She's not going to
I
try to
am
dress
that
it up.
person.
What why do you feel ridicule for them?
I would just be curious.
Is it
What
obvious
is
to you that
happening?
they're following?
It's obvious that they're doing something that to a queue, and because I don't understand, because I don't have a good reason to behave in response to the queue, I wouldn't do it.
Hmm.
And then I would wonder if they do, right? And then I might ask somebody, right? Realistically, I might go, "Hey, dude, what's with this?"
Yeah.
And if they were just like, "I don't know, everybody's doing it," I'd be like, "Oh, this is weird."
That's
Then
weird.
insert
And then I would
That's
ridicule.
start
Yeah,
laughing at
ridiculous.
them more
Yeah.
loudly.
Like you're
but
just doing
first it's
that and you have no idea
curiosity. Yeah,
why.
yeah.
Because I would think maybe they know something I don't. Maybe they're standing
Yeah.
up because I just missed a piece of information that they have. So I would like want to
Yeah.
know. Oh, hey, are we supposed to be standing? I would ask them. I would look to them to help
Mhm.
lead me through this.
I mean, I
At
would
least lead me
consider
to a
that a
decision.
possibility, but I wouldn't consider it the most likely possibility, and it wouldn't be the possibility on which I would default act.
I
Let's
would
put it that
think
way.
that there's definitely some sort of memo that I missed if everybody was getting up at the, like they were all Pavloved into like standing up, and I would want to know. But and I think that's
Dobez,
why
I've
most
been going
people stand
against
up.
the group my whole life, and I made it to almost 55. It's fine. You
Yeah,
don't always
but
have to
if
follow the group.
not always, but your first instinct shouldn't be to always go against consensus. It should be to, maybe there's something to it, and then go against it if there isn't something to it.
But how do you, if it's
No,
instinct, how do you control what's first and say that they just come spontaneously? And if that's the one that comes first, what can you do about it?
okay, but what about a situation in nature? I'm gonna not come up with a good example, but where like if starfish always have 5 arms or legs or whatever they're called, but they start mating with one, the one that has 8 arms, and then later on their offspring have 7, and they're more evolved in that way. Isn't that the opposite of your?
I'll be honest, I didn't. I zoned out where you're talking. It's 8, 7 arms. What?
Because
It's
again, you're
pretty
saying if
obvious.
you go with the flow, if you go with the norm, and there's always,
Yes.
and you stick to what you believe is the expected. But then you have that one, like, starfish with a kink that goes for the oddball starfish that has additional arms, and then they create this new evolutionary lineage where their offspring are maybe more advanced, more evolved because they have an
Well, I'm not
extra
saying
arm.
to always stick with the group. I'm saying if you're gonna go against the group, do it in an informed way.
Yeah,
Your
don't go
instinct
against.
shouldn't be to
Don't go
always go
against
against
it.
the consensus. Your
Yeah,
instinct should be to evaluate the group action, and
right.
But
usually
but
it is the best way. If it
Don't
isn't,
go
go the
against
other
I'm
it
way.
still
just for the
caught up on the
sake of
larger
going
issue of
against it.
how instincts are moralized at all. If they're instincts, they're just natural
It's a normalizing strategy,
bodily
what you're
process, a
describing,
natural
Valdez.
reaction. So to say that an instinct should be this or should not be this, you're bringing an element of morality to a physiological process that I don't
Well, a
understand.
grown human can use self control.
What?
You're
Who
also
has
Some
that?
grown
essentially applying
humans
a
can, so can some
statistical
kids.
argument to individual behavior.
Yes, because it usually is correct. I live life
Right,
by
but
what
it's
is usually
statistic.
correct.
We've had this conversation before with the statistics.
In
But
most
is
scenarios in my life, if I just follow what my parents have done, I'm usually good. That doesn't mean there
Right, it's a
aren't scenarios in
normalizing
life where I
strategy.
shouldn't.
It is minimizing risk, but you are also reducing the potential benefits by following a normalizing
No.
strategy.
Oh, you should be
Yes.
aware of what you're doing, but you shouldn't, on principle, go against the standard. The standard is there for a reason.
So, but okay, should no one on principle go against the standard, or should, in general, most people not go against this? Most individuals not go against the standard. Those are two
Spike, you
different
could tell your
claims.
joke.
hi, Spike?
Is there any reason to discuss the difference? Like, sure, some
Yes,
individuals. I don't
we're
think.
talking about leadership. That was the topic, so I feel like it's extremely on point, right?
Right. So why would
Because
a leader
A leader
subject
because a
should
himself
leader
be.
to
is often the
arbitrary
one who
norms?
stands out, who doesn't sort of follow the normalizing
But a leader is
of
not the one who
generalized
always stands
behavior.
out. The leader is the one
Yeah,
who
but that's
takes the
just
traits
pointing
of the
out that
group
an
and immerses
exception
a
to the
few of them.
rule does not. I mean, okay, just quick poll. In general, do you think leaders are more likely to stand out or not?
Of course, they're more likely to stand out,
Right.
but that's
So
not
the fact that
that's not
some
on
don't
everything.
doesn't invalidate what I said.
Yeah, but a leader can also, but a leader also represents the group in situations,
Exactly.
and they've got to represent, or they should represent the greater good for them all.
Is the best representative of a group homogenous with the group?
Also,
That's a good
Mostly
question.
homogenous.
the person that might
You
have the
should be
best interest
mostly
of the group
homogenous.
might not be the leader. That happens too.
That sounds nice, but on a skill-based performative level, is that actually true?
Well, what I said was it's not always the case. Sometimes the one that is maybe the best equipped for the leadership role is not the leader. There could be
Right.
other.
Because you can
whatever.
pose the question: is a member of a homogenous group the most likely to understand their homogenous group, particularly in relativity to other groups? Right? Are the insiders, are the people who are alike, are they actually the best at understanding how they are?
I
Are you
think
posing this
so.
question to me or her?
Yeah, no, to
Anybody?
you, to you, only you.
You don't want to answer. No, it. Wait, repeat the question.
I do have an
Is a
answer, sir.
member
Go
of a
for it.
homogenous group most likely to understand the particulars of their own homogenous group, or conversely, might they be more blind to the details of the group to which they are a member because it's so
Both.
homogenous, right? Like an insider is not always the most aware of the details or the particulars of an insider.
Well, it depends on how much that group is in contact with other groups. If that group is completely isolated, you are not that aware of
Does it
your
though?
own particular traits. But if not always, but if you are in constant contact with other groups, you will see the differences.
I mean, I think it opens up the possibilities, but are you more likely to see the differences in your own group or the differences in the other groups?
I would say your own. You're in the group. You can see the differences more between the people in your group
You're
than the
saying
out
that
group
you
because the out group.
could. I'm not saying could you. I'm saying do people actually do
Okay,
that?
I'm sorry. I don't want to have this conversation. You're really annoying to argue with. Goodbye.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I'm not even like getting into super details. I'm trying to ask relevant questions
No, I mean
to the topic.
I'm following you. I understand them. I don't know why the reaction happens.
Michael, wait, real quick. By insider, do you mean participant?
Well, part of the group, right? Like a member of the
Okay.
in-group.
Okay.
Like Dina, where he was part of the group and then he became leader.
And where?
Yeah.
Where did that happen?
Like
At
do a
his
In my
bunch
work,
of,
he
job.
said.
Oh,
autistic
okay, so
They
like,
had to
ADHD.
stop calling him by his name and they had to call him Mr. So and
yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, well, see, management interfered with leadership in that. Well,
And he told
they
him
tried.
no, though. I think that was where that was the leadership was saying no.
Yeah,
That's
I've
not
been
going
in
to
that
work with my
Right.
situation too.
team. I know
But
what
I've
my
been.
I don't know.
team
I think I made
needs.
some enemies though. That's what ended up, I think,
I
ultimately
think a
costing me
good
my
leader
job.
does. I think making enemies could
Good
be
leaders
the
has to
mark
be
of a
willing
leader.
to.
Yeah.
Anytime
I've
you
been in.
take a definitive position or stand, you risk making enemies with
Like
the
there was a
contrary to
time
that.
when I was ordered to uh, punish somebody, and I didn't agree with it, so I refused to do it. So I will not. So they just bypassed me and did it themselves. But I made a permanent enemy, I guess you could say. And all the times I refused to do what I didn't think was right ended up costing me my job in the end.
Yep,
Yeah,
I've been there.
I've been
I
there too,
make
Dina.
enemies with leadership all the time because they're not. If you're doing your job, you don't have to worry about me. It's the leaders that are not leading effectively, and I can see how the leadership should be going, and I can see that like gap, and that's the ones I end up making enemies with. But they're because they're not doing their job, but they're being held accountable, so they're gonna
I think
like lash back.
I think this makes a good point is that does a leader require a group in order to see them, right? Like in order to sort of like evaluate if a person is quote unquote a leader, do you have to evaluate them in the context of a group, or can you essentially be a leader as an individual? Because I think the answer is the latter, and I think that what you were talking about is a good example of that, right? Even just leading yourself against the grain
Yeah.
is
But that's the thing. Sometimes but often leaders have to be followers. But great leaders know where to draw the line.
They know when to
and
diverge from the path.
Yeah,
yeah.
because of there's lots of
But I
examples.
guess
Anyway,
yeah.
thank you for
But a
having me.
leader
Sorry, I
can
gotta
be a
go.
leader without actually having any followers, right? Like a leader is defined by themselves. They're not actually defined by their set of followers. You can have a person who has a bunch of followers who is not necessarily a leader.
That's true. Or they could just be a poor leader.
Right. Well, they are in a position of leadership,
Yeah.
but that doesn't
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
them a leader.
Right.
Yeah. I think the work situation often has both, right? You have people in
Yes.
positions of leadership who shouldn't be, and then you have
So
individuals who are not in
100%.
leadership positions who lead themselves against the grain and are often punished for it.
Right. I have been in that
are
situation too,
followed.
where the leader was not uh, prepared for that position, had no idea what they were doing, and were basically just a puppet for the upper management, and didn't really lead anybody.
Right.
You know.
They were ill
Yeah,
suited
because
to the
sometimes
to the
other
position.
people lead than what's on paper, than
Right.
the designated leader. So the leader is not always the leader. Sometimes the leadership is coming from other members of the team outside of the leadership role, the actual leadership.
Yeah, or you can
I've
separate
seen
even
both.
further by
I've
calling
been
it
in those
like the
situations
authority
too,
or the
where
the
we have to
commander.
ignore like the real leader and just let the actual person that knows what they're doing lead things, even if they're not the leader.
And in that case, I think because also this points out to me the value in being able to identify sort of the leadership qualities, the leader qualities of humans, right, of people, right? Because if you can
I mean,
say
for me,
see
it's very
that,
easy. It's if they know what they're
yeah, you
doing.
can see the dysfunction and you can either work around the dysfunction or remedy it. But people either not identifying that or rejecting it, right? Like you have people that are like, oh, that person has a tendency to lead themselves. Let's see if we can beat it out of them, which rarely works if they're correct in identifying them as sort of leader material.
Well, I kind of wanted to like see if leadership from a community like this was any different than normal leadership, and it sounds like if there is such a thing as general leadership, it sounds like there's a lot of overlaps with it. That it's not particularly like it's not so different that we have our own species of leadership.
I mean, I would guesstimate that the general personality types and, the general composition of people around here that, at least the ones that I interact with, probably a lighter hand is works probably works better and probably doesn't need more than at a clear leadership, right, when it's necessary. It's like I've been in online groups that are very top down and have lots of rules, and I don't last very long there. But I've been in communities that are essentially run by chaos, wizards, and the thing is that real firm leadership is rarely required, but when it is required, it's firm and it's clear, and everybody generally goes along with it because of
And
that. It's
it
not
also kind of
arbitrary,
depends on what the enforcement mechanisms are too, because
right?
it's very easy to take someone off a panel if it's going to reduce the chaos, and that's very firm and clear. So that's easy. Like any leader can implement that by just hitting a button. So it's not really even a skill in a setting like
Yeah,
the
but making it clear
panelverse.
why you did it, I think, is what's important. Because I've been booted out of places because somebody just didn't like me for a second, or
Yeah,
didn't like
that's
something
well.
I said
I
2 months
mean,
ago,
even if
right?
what do you mean by clear? Because are they ever gonna
you
a hundred?
you
Are
generally
you ever gonna
explain
know
why you
100% that they're being honest about the reason?
no, but you can the attempt, right? You generally, when you kick someone, you explain it. You don't just go because I don't have to. I'm the boss. I don't have to say. Which is honestly what I would expect out of you.
And I don't really pay much attention to authority anyway. I just speak my mind. If
Yeah.
like usually it's identifying problems and suggesting solutions more or less. And so I communicate that to anybody that I think needs to hear it. I don't pay attention to if it's a hierarchy or if it's my place or whatever. And if that brings me in conflict with leadership, oh well.
Well, depends on the setting. Like if you're military, you can't just you got to go along the chain of command.
That's see, I'd probably get in trouble with the military because I
Yeah.
wouldn't do all of that. I don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I
People
just
always
go
ask me if
tell
I was
whoever
going
I
to join
think
the
needs to hear.
military.
You
I'm
Whoever's
just
going
like,
to be
skip
able
all
to
no.
skip the
solve
middleman,
it
go
at the
right to the
time.
top.
Yeah.
All right.
I hang out with
I'm
them and
off.
I train
I'm
with
out of
them,
here.
but I wouldn't make a good
All
one.
right, Dino. Good to see you.
Peace.
Thanks a lot. I think I will say thank you after all. For the, well, is it time to show leadership and end the panel?
You definitely could at this point. I think it was an interesting like discussion and like a meta experiment all in and of itself.
Yeah, I liked it. I think because I know for a fact this community can have these conversations. We've had amazing conversations in the past. I think it's just a matter of keeping it focused on a central theme long enough for the amazement to come out. So I
Yeah,
think in the future this is another type of stream. I'm trying to find different streaming options to offer, and this is one I
yeah.
think I can continue
This
to
is a good
offer
topic that can be
as its own.
revisited too. It's
Yeah,
it's
it has
always
me
a
thinking
good
about it
one.
a lot after yesterday.
Yeah. I
Just
what was my thought?
especially
Oh, it
when you
was
reach a
fun.
certain age, I think it's like a life stage or phase two. You should somewhere along the way in your life, like you should be in some kind of leadership by some point. It seems like you would over a large enough lifespan, you would naturally fall into having to lead on some things.
I mean, I think you know beyond sort of structural authority or whatever. From my perspective, there's a point where you want to do the quote unquote like lead by example at the very least, right?
Yeah.
You want to be an example or you know kind of put out there the stuff that you've learned, right? It's like
I
you feel
is
like
that
you've
the
got
same
enough
thing as
wisdom.
just
You're
being
like
yourself and
just
modeling your values,
I
or
think
is
so.
it
I just think it's
because
you were
my
talking
form of
about like
that
the
is just
stage
being
of life.
myself.
You, to me, it was the stage of life part where it's like there was a certain point in my life where I really felt like I had more to share. You know, as far as like it became I became more conscious of the value of being myself in order to share how other people so that other people who are like me can figure out how to navigate certain situations or so forth,
Okay,
right?
Melanie
Leading by
brings up a
example.
good point because I've heard this before that once you attain a certain level of leadership, you have a voice and a platform and a reach that a lot of like people that are not in that position don't have, and that comes with a responsibility. So what like it's like a form of indirect leadership. So you may not be aware of who you're actually leading with your voice or your content. But do you have a responsibility anyway to make sure these invisible people that you're never going to see or know are not misled by your leadership? And to me, you don't have control over that. So it's out of the realm of what I have agency over.
I mean, it's important to have an awareness of it, but it's not
Even
some
that
sort
I
of
don't
an
know if I have. How do you
imposed
get an awareness of
responsibility, right?
how
Well, you just
your
espouse an
leadership
awareness.
is
You're
going to
aware,
affect people that you're not directly leading?
but you know, it's the awareness that you're not in total control of how it's going to affect people, or you are, right? Like the awareness that you're having a additional impact potentially, like just the awareness is you can't
It's
really
a very
expect more than
fuzzy
that.
awareness.
Yeah,
It's
you
like the
can't.
what is the butterfly in China that flaps its
Yeah,
wings.
the
It's like it's
butterfly effect kind of thing.
the end result is so vague and fuzzy that what am I supposed to even do with it if I'm aware of it?
I don't know. I respect people that are aware of it.
Is it like a virtue signal thing? Like, hey, I'm a leader and I'm aware that I like my leadership could have unintended effects.
I mean, I think you're only responsible to yourself. And in order to not, for me, it would be
Yeah,
something
but
along the lines of,
I
I
have no
prefer
control over
knowledge to
stochastic.
ignorance, right? So it's like, if I'm aware of it, then if I was in a situation where I'm like, I feel like maybe I don't want to say this today for these reasons, that awareness allows me to control myself. It's a more knowledgeable position to control myself from. I think
And see, I want
that
to
would be
know now
accurate.
what you're not saying. All that does is make me want to know what you're not saying because of that.
I mean, generally, I, I don't not say things, but like
Right, but
if
the
you're in
sowing the
an
seeds is one
acute
thing. Leading to
situation,
harm is not the effect of anything you're doing. Like that's somebody. The harm is not coming from you. It's somebody that's taking one of those seeds
yeah, but
and
that's how you spread good too.
twisting
You
it to their
also
own purposes. That's not my responsibility.
you sow seeds of good ideas, and you can't like the only way to attempt to guarantee spreading no misunderstood seeds is to spread no seeds at all, and then you're not going to grow any good fruit either.
Yeah, I mean, anybody
Basically, you
can
can't live in
pervert or
fear,
abuse
right?
anything.
As trite as that is, you can't. Paralysis is not in my opinion, a viable action plan or way to live life.
That is good. I agree with that, even though I don't practice it myself. I do from a leadership perspective. Like, I don't ask anybody to do anything that I myself have not done, am not willing to do myself, etc. So in that sense, like on a job site, but in life, don't model yourself after how I live my day to day life. There's going to be people way more inspiring and able to lead you somewhere responsible than if you model after how I conduct my life. Because my room is not particularly that clean.
I feel like that particular book from Jordan Peterson it's kind of like Dave Ramsey financial advice.
Yes,
It's not
Melanie, I agree
absolute
with this.
rules.
It is your responsibility to know what you have control over, and that is exactly my basis for rejecting this idea that I'm responsible for how people take what I say because I'm not in control of that for that reason. Because when I am making that assessment, that falls outside of what I have control over. Therefore, it falls outside of my responsibility. I can only be responsible for what I can affect because I could change. I could have done something differently and made a change, but I can't be responsible for something I have no power over. I don't have a First of all, I don't consider myself an influencer. Second of all, I don't have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to put out the content that I want to put out, to communicate the truths that I'm trying to communicate, and like give as accurate information as I can about the topics that I know the most about, etc. The stuff on mental health and autism is all from my own lived experience, background, personal experience with it. So it's definitely from a very specific perspective, and other people's experiences might be different. That's why I don't talk dogmatically. You'll never hear me, almost never hear me say always, never. I'm very much, it depends on the circumstances. It's situational. I'm constantly saying that. I'd have to know the individual case. So that is to me my responsibility.
I mean, if you
But I can't
generally,
control how people take what I say here all kinds of ways. There's been like gazillion YouTube videos that reflect that, how people take my content and the personal lens that it gets like refracted through. And so I'm not responsible for what's like people's brains, how their brains are structured. I'm not responsible for their personal background, their past experiences, none of that. And if that's influencing how they receive my message, that's outside of what I have control over.
if you seek truth first, can you be more responsible than that if you seek to?
Melanie, I don't know that it's going to affect others. There's no guarantee that anything I'm doing here is going to affect anybody, so I'm not making the assumption that it will. And B, I have no way to know or predict or control how it affects somebody. Even if it did affected someone, all I can do is put it out there. I can't guarantee a certain outcome with it. I'm not in control of people's interpretive process. That's an internal thing that they are. It's happening outside of a realm that I have access to. So if you're influencing people, it's how do you become aware of how you're influencing when you're not? You'd have to be in their mind. You'd have to be in the mind of every total abstract stranger that could potentially consume your content. And I don't
You
see how
essentially
that's
have to
possible.
believe
It's all
that
guesswork.
your charisma, influence, or whatever is sufficient to override their individual agency to a large or total degree. That would require quite the demonstration in order to assess it to be most likely true, and or it would require quite a bit of arrogance or narcissism to assume it by
That,
default to be true.
she's trying to put some kind of moral responsibility on me that I reject. She's
Right,
she's
but by putting the responsibility on the transmitter rather and not discussing the receiver, you are devaluing the agency of the receiver. You're devaluing the agency of other people by making the argument in and of itself to a certain extent.
yeah. Yeah. This is her own personal stuff that she's playing out on everybody else. Like maybe she has a need to feel like she's being virtuous and righteous and taking on this heroic responsibility, but that doesn't mean everybody else necessarily does feel or has to feel or is required to feel that same need. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Nice projection. Exactly. See, you caught it too. What is my risk? It sounds like the receiver is the one at risk if they do something crazy because of something I say. Look, she now she's analyzing my emotions and everything. You have a certain opinion about how I should conduct myself morally as an influence, like what my moral responsibilities or duties should be. But you're not the authority on that. So all this is your opinion.
I
I've
would
told
also,
you what I take as my responsibility, and that's all I try to live up to. And I feel like I'm pretty much doing that. So I'm okay with myself morally. It's not even anything to defend. I don't have to defend against an opinion. Oh, well, Bex, lucky for you, you get to have that treat because she was on the show like 1.5 times, and then I reached my limit with her, and that's it. it's So there's a whole stream of me and her talking for a few hours. Well, it may be unavoidable for you, but I'm avoiding it just fine because I haven't even thought about it till you brought it up today. I don't know, Melanie. Our last few conversations were very it, pointless and frustrating. They didn't really go anywhere, and all it was just increasing frustration. If I'm avoiding it or like perceived to be avoiding it, it's not because I'm intentionally avoiding it. It's because I don't acknowledge it to begin with. I don't even recognize whatever this is you're talking about. So if that's avoidance, it's an avoidance totally manufactured by your framing. Because in my world, there's nothing to even avoid because it's not even in my perceptual circumference at all. So I guess to me, avoid implies intent. And if you're not even intending to avoid something because you don't even recognize its existence, is that really avoidance? I don't babysit people's triggers. I let adults manage their own triggers. I don't know what every person's trigger is. They know that better than I do. Just like people know their food allergies better than strangers do. Like they need to manage all that, not me.
I mean, the fact that Gen X is like in all of your branding or most of it, that should be sufficient for anybody paying attention, right?
Yeah, and my descriptions and that. But I also know, not even from doing YouTube as long as I have, but just from living life and being around people, that people see what they want to see and they hear what they want to hear. So it doesn't matter
Indeed.
how much you try to communicate something, they're still going to filter out the parts that don't fit into their interpretation. All right, where we at? God, only an hour? It feels like. See, that's the thing about these kind of conversations, though. They make a very short amount of time feel like it increases the magnitude or the amplitude of it. Well,
High
we'll do
density.
more. I'll probably be out tomorrow night, tomorrow evening. I work every day this week, so all of my streams will be in the evening on the days that I do them. So look for me then. And you have anything you want to leave us with?
I'll just leave you. How about that?
Okay.
I'll leave you
us.
with your own thoughts. That
Okay.
which you can control, your own self.
Right. Until next time.
I'll lead myself right out of here if I can find the button.
Okay. If not, I can lead you. All right. There we go. All right. Leadership. You can figure out what you think about it. My main, in addition to just kind of exploring and hearing from the community what leadership was to them, I wanted to see if it was any different because we're outliers than mainstream or traditional leadership. But it doesn't really sound like it is. I think leadership is one of those things that people know it when they see it because they respond to it. And if you're not responding to it, it's probably not that it's not leadership, but it's not the authentic leader. It's not the leadership for you because I have noticed, especially like up here, because it's a different culture where I come from. The people up here need a very particular type of leadership, or they were socialized to a very particular type of leadership that I myself would not necessarily see as leadership or follow. But they recognize it as such, and it serves their needs and it helps them. And so it works for everybody involved in that dynamic. But to me, it's not anything that I would recognize or acknowledge as leadership or follow. And so I was trying to see like if outliers or spurgs or neurodivergent people have their own little form of leadership that's different. But as with everything else in this community, it's probably all individualized, and it's whatever combination of us you have together is whatever form of leadership you have to figure out at the time. Very much like the special ed classrooms. But also, I do think men and women, like doing men's mental health and men's work and being part of these men's groups, men in general, I've found respond to a very specific type of leadership that's different from the type that women respond to. I've watched women lead other women. I've watched men lead other men. I've watched men lead women. I've watched women lead men. And there seems something there, and I'm generalizing, but there seems to be like a, and it's cultural and social. I'm not making any biological claim for it, but here in the West, the United States, whatever, um, it seems like men respond to a certain type of leadership from other men that's very unique, and women have some kind of leadership they get from women that's also unique. Much more so than other cultural factors, I think. Because I've been led by people from different cultures, and I've had to lead people from different cultures, and the barriers were not as great as trying to lead across the gender lines and not being able to meet the sex or gender needs of the people I'm leading. And again, generalized. There's plenty of exceptions. If I had to break it down, in general, I think men are more concrete problems, like tell me what to do, what's the problem, what steps do we need to take, and women, they need a certain touch. It's, you can't just like say the thing. You have to say it in a way that they can receive it and absorb it and act on it. And I don't have that touch always with the women. So I'll leave y'all with that. We'll do another topic stream. I want to try to do like one video stream a week, one topic stream a week. Drama Lab was another spin-off I was looking at. And so if I have these very specific types of content and I do one a week, eventually we'll see which ones work as additional tiers. And then I'll start getting those set up. So thanks for hanging out on a Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow evening. Have a great Monday. And I'll catch you then. All right, take care, people. Hail Satan, Christ is King.